I struggled most of my life with being too sensitive, too sensitive. I used to see it as a curse, but to be honest, it's a blessing to me because, you know, in a society where most people lack empathy and all of these things, it just seems that we are being very, very sensitive and too much overthinking all of these things. But I personally believe that we need more people who are like that, especially nowadays. But that doesn't mean it's always easy. You know, imagine, probably most of you experienced that anyways, but imagine you're standing on what's it called? You know, when you jump into the pool and you're standing there on top, very high, and you look down and you're thinking, I'm about to jump. Some people are able to just do it, right? And then other people just stand there in fear, and the fear rises because the more you think about it, the more you look down and imagine all kinds of scenarios, the more you get anxiety and the more you get you get discouraged to do so, right? The single trick that I've learned about being overly sensitive is to see my own thoughts. We sensitive or not, but I think sensitive people struggle with it even more. We all have an ego, and some of us think, oh, ego is this thing that's like egotistical, yeah, right? Selfish, manipulative, butthurt, arrogant, but that's not what the ego really is. The ego is also control. And if you receive a lot of information because you're more sensitive than others, you have more opportunity to overthink. And when we perceive a lack of control, that is the real issue. The issue is not really being sensitive. The issue is we feel like we can't control the information we're bombarded by, or the feelings or the emotions or whatever it is. That's the real problem. We feel easily out of control because we get overwhelmed. Every time I have a problem where I'm thinking, oh, I'm being too sensitive and stuff like that, I notice that the problem is, instead of having more firm of boundaries, I start blaming myself, right? Sitting there thinking I'm too sensitive is blaming yourself. Instead of thinking other people are not sensitive enough, they're not sensitive to your feeling or whatever. But at the same time, we can't control other people. And we can't expect them to just respect our boundaries just by reading our minds. Because most people are just occupied with themselves. They don't have the capacity to think about you in that way. So that's where you have to be a bit more firm or walk away, But for me, the more I see through things, the more I realize that people are often mentally corrupt. And, I mainly focus on spiritual warfare on my channel, and that's for good reason, because a lack of boundaries is a pandemic. It's a problem that most people have. I shouldn't probably say this word on YouTube, but that's why I only get like 50 views. But that's fine, because there are not many people who wake up to the truth, and we are a minority, but that's not a bad thing necessarily. But anyhow, lack of boundaries is a problem that most people struggle with. And we can't always just walk away from everything, because that kind of feeds into social anxiety, where we just avoid and we don't get used to it, When you're sensitive, you have to desensitize yourself a little bit, And that only works when you don't run away from things, right? So how to deal with it is honestly removing yourself from the stimulus when it's appropriate. And when you're at home, for example, in your safe space, you do the things that you know will regulate you. So for me, a lot of times it's listening to specific music or singing along with it as well, dancing, singing, said that already. I'm taking a bath, all of these things. Having my skincare routine, all of these things help me, to get back into a state where I can be a little bit more grounded. Obviously, if you want to do something outside, if you can, then walking, having a nice walk, just opening the window at home, taking in the fresh air, these things, and breathing it out. That's also very good. So most of all, I want to tell you that being sensitive is not a curse. It's actually a blessing, because you can pick up on things that most people overlook. And that's a blessing. It really is. You have the capacity to see through the lies and the deception, and to actually, you have a strong inner guidance, that's telling you what's right, what's wrong, what is a problem, because these things, they don't happen by coincidence. If you tell yourself that you're being too sensitive, you're overreacting, all of these things, then you kind of, we can always improve ourselves and how we deal with things, but at the same time, we're overlooking the real issue, right? As I said, most people, they have a problem with considering other people's emotions, other people's boundaries. It seems like they're very inconsiderate, most people, and that's not all right. So we have to learn how to put them into place without having too much of a conflict, and that's an art form, but it's possible. So yeah, I hope this was helpful, and I would love to know what you think about this topic. I think it's not so great if we just think, oh, we have to just fix ourselves and that's it. Sometimes we need to know when we have to take a break. And on the other hand, we also have to deal with the root cause and the root issues. And it's not always in us. It's not always in us. That's the message I wanted to spread today. So yeah, like and subscribe if you care. And I hope to hear from you what you think about this. And see you soon. Bye. Stay sensitive.